All right. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to Talking Investing. Hello, Nicholas, Steve, Samuel, Miguel. Welcome to the stream. I got some topics planned today for the stream. So some stuff I'm hoping to talk about. See if we can get some feedback on. A couple of weird things happened today with the Bitcoin miners, so we definitely got to talk about that, and talk about what the action was with Bitcoin. Hello, Steven. Welcome. Good evening. Hey, Ed. Welcome to the stream. So, all right, I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. I want to try and wait till a few people are in here before I start jumping around to some of my topics. But I will tell you right now, I feel pretty good about what Bitcoin did over the weekend. I feel pretty good about today's action. And we held... So for me, if you guys have been watching my videos, I'm going to go a larger time frame. It's easier to see. It's really as simple as far as I'm concerned. I mean, this purple line right here at about 22,400. You can see we tested this like here. We just about hit it here. This has been an important. This is on the 4-hour time frame. So this one candle basically took us above this line. As soon as we broke out of this line, it was literally one 4-hour candle that took us from here up to here. And we've held that every single 4-hour candle since, and that was 2 weeks ago. So this is now a 2+ week line of support that I'm hoping we stay above, because I'm still looking to get to $25,000 here for Bitcoin. And we may be running out of steam, and I don't know where the end is. But right now, I think everything looks better to me today than it did yesterday. So the fact that everything held up, everything's had a little bit of a chance to reset. So I do want to go through a few of the technicals today that I wasn't looking at yesterday just because they were pretty ambiguous. But today I think they're starting to point in our favor. And of course, with that said, you never know. I also want to talk about the market, and I want to talk a little bit about the channel. I want to talk about the market. I want to talk about 2023, because I feel like we got to do something different in 2023. There's an article that came out today, and I just feel like it's exactly what is wrong with retail investors, which for the most part I am. You probably, most of you are. And I think we got burned badly in 2022, and I'm going to go right to something that I think was a big part of the problem, and it's still going on, and people are missing the big picture, I feel like, and retail investors got to stay more focused. They got to stay more focused. Everybody's all over the place chasing, and it's like the other thing is a lot of people lost a lot of money in 2022. I mean, from the retail investor standpoint, most retail investors did not do very well in 2022. I know some of you guys do some day trading and some swing trading, and there was money to be made for sure. There was massive volatility. I think there's going to be massive volatility the rest of this year. So there's money to be made if you're a practiced seasoned day trader or swing trader, and even those two things are dramatically different things. So, and I do not get involved in really day trading at all. I do some swing trading, and that helps me. I do that because I'm a long-term investor for the most part, so I'm just adding to my positions and adding. I don't have really any positions that I've been selling, certainly not in 2022. I mean, 2022 was not a year to unload. So, I'm down from January 1st, 2022 until right now. So, you know, and that's after a spectacular January 2023. So we just came off of a really, really good month, especially for a lot of you guys that are probably like me in the Bitcoin miners. This was one of the great months. This was the second best January in the history of Bitcoin. And I know, you know, they track it by month, so I'm not sure how much that necessarily means. But the fact is it was up almost 40%. And this is a 50+% rally we are still in the middle of as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we've broken trend. So, you know, 50+% rally is huge. And, you know, when Bitcoin does a 50+% rally, you see what happens to some of these Bitcoin miners. I mean, we have had astounding rallies. And I want to look at a few of those because I think they validate, you know, they validate the swing trading aspect of this. And they also, you know, some of this is about potentially taking profits if you're not a swing trader when you have ultra violent moves, which we've had. And this, so far this year, they've been to the upside. Last year, you know, it was down in a straight line. You know, it wasn't in a straight line. There was a lot of volatility last year, but the trend was, if I go to the 1 day, I got to really zoom out. Go to the 1 week. I mean, I've got some arrows in here for some relief rallies that we had. I'm just going to take those lines away. You can see, I mean, that's just from March. I still got to keep going. So this is a downtrend. This was 2022. Just down all year. But you can see we did have, if you remember, back by the end of March, we had rallied up to almost 48,000. That was a huge rally, but then look what happened after. I mean, a gigantic drop-off. And then we bottomed out in June, which I thought was going to be the bottom. And we went, and that held for a long time. That held until FTX. So this 1 week candle right here, this is the couple of days in November where the FTX situation hit. Otherwise, I do believe this was going to be the bottom. So we dropped down. That lasted for really almost 2 months. I mean, you can see this is practically, this was actually one of the tightest trading ranges Bitcoin has ever had in its history. I went back 7 or 8 years using the Bollinger Bands, and I only found one other period of a month or greater that was this tight of a range. So we were absolutely sideways, and then we've had a nice rally since then. And then the question is, are we going to break out of this thing, or, you know, has it run out of steam and we're going to turn back around? So Martin's asking, are you worried about the Fed talk tomorrow? So the Fed is one of the things I want to talk about because I was just absolutely, I'm baffled. I don't know what people hear. And somebody said a great quote, and I'm going to read it because it summarizes what I think is, it summarizes what I think just happened. And I think, again, this is just retail traders getting tricked, in my opinion. So I want to go through that next. But somebody did remind me, Stephen, thank you, reminded me, smash the like button. I don't know if that showed up. If you guys could smash the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And smashing the like button during the live stream helps the live stream a lot. It gives us more people to interact with, so much appreciated. Okay, so enough of that. Space Oddity is saying take the money off the table. So I think he's saying take some profits. So yeah, and that's the thing. Like, for instance, before I go to what I was going to talk about, I'll sidetrack myself. I mean, look at Argo Blockchain today. It ended up 35%, but look at this daily candle. All out of nowhere, I'm going to go to the 1 hour because you're going to see. I mean, that's 1 hour. Let's see if I can even break it down to the half hour. Yeah, half hour, was it 15 minutes? Yes. So all this action today, I mean, that's a 35% 15-minute candle for Argo blockchain. So this thing went ballistic in the middle of the day, and it held a lot of its ground. So here's a stock where, you know, if you averaged in down to the bottom, in the middle of the day today, you were up almost 800% from the bottom in the middle of December. So that's a little less than 2 months. That's almost 2 months. So yeah, I mean, do you consider taking profits when you get one of these deals? The way I do that, so, you know, and this is different for everybody. The way I try to do that is I missed Argo. I'm not invested in Argo at all. So I don't chase. The one thing I would never do on a day like today is jump in and start to buy, because, you know, whatever's going on, obviously, you know, between a 35% and a 65% run up in one day, we're at almost an 800% run up from the bottom to the top in less than 2 months. Not today, to me, does not seem like the day to buy. So it could have been the day to potentially, you know, if you think this was unjustified, you could buy some puts on this. You could short it. I don't really short stocks. I think it's just too dangerous. But lots of people are comfortable doing that. I'm not one of them. But I stick with the stocks that I stick with. And when I get a run up, I usually have options on them as well. So I can sell the options, you know, that's my version of profit taking. So that's my hybrid approach to investing. The vast majority of my funds are in the actual stock itself. But then I try to keep some in options. Now, when the premiums get high enough, sometimes I'll sell the options. But when we're very low like this, I'm not selling options. We're still very near the bottom. So the time to sell options was all year in 2022. And I know a lot of you guys did that and made up a lot of the money that you would have otherwise been out. But to me, this is not the year to sell options. I think this is the year to buy options. But obviously, we'll have to play that by ear and see how things go. The Fed, this is what I want to read about the Fed, because then the Fed's going to talk tomorrow and everybody's going to interpret it any way they want. But I was very, very stunned at people's reaction to the Fed. And I even had some people leave comments like, you know, did you listen to what Powell said? Because, you know, it was game changing. And I'm like, yeah, I did listen to the entire thing. All the question and answer. I always listen to that. Yeah, it's a little boring, but there was, I mean, I went through, and this is not because I could tell the future. Everybody knows. I went through before the Fed meeting. I went through and said verbatim every single thing that Jerome Powell was going to say after the meeting. And the reason is he's verbatim using his same talking points. So this should have been no surprise at all. But I want to show you how one very famous person interpreted this. And it's almost like, to me, this seems like nonsense to me. So let me see if I can find it. Okay, billionaire Chamath P., so that I don't butcher his last name. Many of you might be familiar with him. He's a very, very high-profile, influential, you know, person in the investment community. So this is what he said. So this is a direct quote. I happen to find an article with this direct quote. Let's see. In a new All In podcast episode, the venture capitalist says the statements made by the Chairman Powell during the Federal Open Market Committee meeting last week indicated the Federal Reserve is beginning to ease the pace of future rate hikes. Okay, so that's his opening statement. But here's his quote. In December, Powell was extremely hawkish, and he was basically like, listen, we're going to keep rates higher than you like and longer than you want. And he was pretty clear, and the market reacted. Okay, so that was his impression of the December talk. And then, not 35 or 40 days later, he essentially said we have 2 basis point hikes left to go, and he's going to try to stick the landing, essentially. Okay, so that's there he's saying, you know, he totally shifted what he's going to say. But then listen to what Chamath says next. even though the rest of the language in his entire speech and the press conference, if you read it in the absence of his body language, so if you just read the transcript, would seem very hawkish as well. So that's what I did. I listened to what he said. I didn't read Jerome Powell's body language, okay? You guys tell, I'm going to do a poll, and you guys tell me. This is what the market did, and everybody was like, wow, he was so, dovish, and what a big change. But, I mean, here it is word for word. Like he says, if you read it in absence of his body language, it would seem very hawkish. That's because it was very hawkish. It was the identical talking points. So the market, the market ran, but to me that was a big fake out. And now all of a sudden all the headlines are, well, it's not maybe he's a little more hawkish than we thought. It's like, well, what made you think that he wasn't when he said all the same things? He used the term deflationary, but he didn't say that we are in a deflationary period. So just because he said that word, that's not what he thinks is happening. He made it clear that he thinks that's not what's happening. He hopes that we will move into a period where that's happening. Anyway, to me, that's the Fed. So I don't know what to think. The Fed will talk, and I guess people will do whatever, whichever way the wind blows. It feels like to me, because I was stunned that everybody else thought that Powell. So I'm going to do just a quick poll. This is just a yes, no. Listen, answer the way you want to answer. You guys don't have to agree with me, as I'm sure you know. I'm just asking, was Powell more dovish in the meeting last week than he was in his meeting, about a month and a half ago? So did you guys walk away from that meeting? When you were done, did you feel like, wow, the Fed has shifted, and, the Fed, and it looks like the Fed's going to be taking a different stance? Or do you think, no, it was pretty much the same talking points? And again, listen, I've told you what I think, but what I think has nothing to do with it. I'm wondering what you guys think. So feel free to disagree. And while we're doing that, it's just another reminder, if everybody could please smash the like button. It helps out the channel a lot, and I appreciate it. We get more people on the stream when there's active likes during the live stream. So this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. So thank you for whoever brought that up, because it's just, I don't know how to predict people's reactions when I'm more of a literal person. So if he was giving some nonverbal indicators and cues, I was not picking up on them. I was just listening to his words, and he was saying what I was expecting him to say. Brent said, I listened to the speech and was surprised by the market reaction. So that's how I felt. Space Oddity, Fed might do 3 more hikes, going to 5.5 in the end. So I agree with you, Space Oddity. I think it is highly probable that they're going to do 3 more. And you'll see that is not priced into the market. So that is something that concerns me. So let me go over to this thing. So this is for the March meeting. And this is very fuzzy for whatever reason. But basically, I think this says 93.7% chance. So a 93.7% chance we get another 25 basis points in the next meeting. That's what the market is pricing in. Then if we go to the meeting after that, these two columns, this represents no rate hike. So 21% of the people think maybe no rate hike, right? Because this goes, yeah. So 21% of the people are saying no rate hike, 73% of the people. So again, that's your 80, that's your 95% of people think we're going to get another quarter of a point or less. So people are somewhere between a quarter of a point and a half a point. Then if you go out one more meeting, you're still so this is skewed a little bit better because this would be 3 rate hikes. So 35% of the people think we're going to get 3 rate hikes. 62% of the people think we're going to get less than that. And then there is an outlying 2% that thinks we're going to get more than that. But only 35% of the people are thinking 3 rate hikes. And I think that is 3 rate hikes is highly probable in my opinion. And I'm just taking the Fed at their word, and I'm looking how much runway they have left. I don't think they can really do more than 3. So I think 3 it's going to be. And I think Powell has told us that in almost no uncertain terms. So I'm just trying to follow, what he's saying. So Steve Eckford on another matter is saying, I think Validus bought a bunch of HUT. So I would love to know that. Is there a source or is that just the word on the street? Because I found no news. HUT, in other words, HUT had a good day today. HUT was up 7.6%, but it's not just today. I want to go to their chart because HUT has been on fire. Now, those of you who watch the channel know I like HUT. And that's one of my top 4 high conviction plays. But they really have done nothing in the last 2 or 3 months to indicate that they should be on a massive run up, right? They've been almost, other than just saying, listen, the situation with Validus has escalated. It's become a legal matter. And, so we're not going to talk about it anymore. That's pretty much the only thing they've said in the last several months. But in that same period of time, I'll just go to where they closed today. That's a 204% increase in just over a month. So, a month and a week. So HUT is rallying huge. Now, all the Bitcoin miners are up a lot. Most of them are up over 100%. So it's not like HUT is an outlying event and it's, radically higher than everybody else. But that's one of the leaders. And again, they haven't said anything. They haven't said anything or done anything. So Steve is saying he thinks Validus Power, which is the company that they're suing in the middle of suing, bought a bunch of HUT 8 stock. So, if that's true, I guess that would be a very bullish indicator. And then Steven's asking, how quickly do interest rates start to fall after the peak? So, to me, and this is another thing that the Fed's... Now, here's where I do depart from them. I think it's important for them to stay on their talking points. They're going to do that. They're going to do more hikes than we want them to do, and they're going to keep them in place for longer than we want to keep them in place because they got to get this inflation in check. He's been crystal clear, and he said it again. History... He's learned from history that the biggest mistake you could possibly make is to switch courses too soon and have inflation run away on you. So he tries to indicate that, they're not going to do any reversal in 2023. But I think this is where I will say I'm with the rest of the market. But I think in the fourth quarter of 2023, I think they're going to start lowering rates. So I think it's going to get to where it goes. He's going to do 3 more quarter points. Obviously, if some gigantic data point changes in the middle, maybe it'll be worse than this. But everything seems to be going along a path right now where he can do 3 more raises, hold for a while, and then near the end of the year start to take his foot off the gas and start to go the other way. Darren said, from where we are, it takes very little to bake in one additional 25 hike than previously thought. Yeah, absolutely. And 125 basis point hike isn't a big deal. I mean, we had 4 or 5 75 basis point hikes in a row. So, the last quarter of a point, where we end as of the last quarter of a point, I don't think is a big giant deal. So, Steven's saying it's that speculation on Validus buying their stock, but something is caused. There's a lot of big green candles here on HUT, so something is causing this to run for sure. Thank you, everybody, for pressing the like button. We got a good number of likes. If you haven't pressed the like button, you can please press the like button. You can also subscribe to the channel. And for those of you who don't know, you can also become a member of the channel. We have a bunch of members on the stream right now by hitting the join button on the YouTube page. So we do a bunch of members-only stuff. We now have opened up a members-only Discord, which is rocking right now. So that's going well. We do members-only live stream. Once a week, the members pick a company for me to do a deep dive video on, and we've had a series of excellent companies, with one in the middle that something weird was going on with, and so that was a good one too. Anyway, it's a way for me to learn. For starters, all you guys know different industries. Obviously, my channel focuses a lot on the Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin, but I do follow, the small cap EVs a lot. I follow a lot of the high growth stocks. And so I'm familiar with a lot of that. However, the last 15 months, really more, for small cap high growth stocks, it was the better part of almost 2 full years of just an absolute downward spiral. And so, I have my watch lists, and I have some stocks that I really like on there, and I'll probably start doing videos on them again on the channel, because I do think we're going to start to get some money that comes back into the right ones. Everything was overheated. If you guys remember January 2021, so that is now 2 years ago, everything, you didn't need revenue. You could be never mind cash flow positive. You could be pre-revenue. If you had a product, some people didn't even have a product. They had a prototype, and it's like, boom, $1 billion market cap, $10 billion market cap. So things got out of control. So there was a massive pullback, but a lot of these companies, I mean, I have a list of over 100 companies that are down over 90%. And that includes every single Bitcoin miner that's publicly traded. From the peak to the bottom, they were down between 91 and 99%. So, I mean, that's staggering. Every single one in the whole industry. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin pulled back, but it didn't pull back that much. And a lot of these companies made a lot of progress during the year. So, they're twice as big or 3 times as big as they were. And yet, all of a sudden they're down 93%, 95%, 99%. I mean, if you go to a couple of these have had runs. I mean, we just looked at one, but if you go to Core Scientific, and this, this pulled back, but it had a nice day today. So this is, again, from December 30th. From December 30th to February 2nd. So that is essentially 1 month of trading, plus maybe 2 or 3 days. That's a 1,167% run up on this stock. So yes, Then it had a gigantic red day. And still, if you held and didn't sell, you're still up 762% from December 30th. So this is what I'm saying. Like, this is not the only industry, although I will say I think, 5 of the best 50 stocks in the year 2023 are going to be Bitcoin mining companies. Just from a percentage standpoint, because, it's hard to get, like, Core Scientific's already run up 1,000%. So it's not too many stocks do 2,000, 3,000, 5,000% run-ups in a year. You really have to be beaten down badly. But in this sector, literally every single stock on this entire list did get beat down that badly to where they all could have a 500% return, or some, and it depends. Some of them were beaten up worse than the other. Remember, being down 97.5% is twice as much as 95%. So on the way back up,